Okay, in this checkpoint problem for example 2 from the notes, we're asked to find all 6 trig functions when we're given secant of x is equal to -3 and the sine of x is greater than 0, so that's positive. So if we start by making our trig hexagon to help us remember the identities, and we put a 1 in the middle, and then the left-hand side gets the tangent. Then we use our quotient identity to go around, so tangent is sine divided by cosine. Then we can put in our reciprocals, so reciprocal of tangent is cotangent, reciprocal of sine is cosecant, and reciprocal of cosine is secant. So that's our trig hexagon set up. And we're given that the secant is equal to -3. Okay, then right away we could do our reciprocal because those are diagonal from each other. So cosine would be the reciprocal of -3 or -1/3. And since we're starting with just one trig function, we know that we're going to need a Pythagorean identity in order to find some more. So if I want to use my cosine Pythagorean identity, right, that would be these 3 vertices. So the sine squared times the cosine, or plus the cosine squared, that's going to be equal to 1 squared. So sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1 squared, which is 1, right? And we got that from this triangle right here at the top. So now we can substitute in our -1/3 for the cosine. So sine squared x plus -1/3 squared is equal to 1. And that means that the sine squared x is equal to 1 minus 1/9. Because -1/3 quantity squared is 1/9, and then we subtract that over to the other side. So to get a common denominator, I would change that 1 to a 9/9, and that would give us sine squared x equals 8/9. And then we're going to square root both sides to get rid of that square, and sine of x then is plus or minus square root of 8 over square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 8 reduces. Remember your factor tree if you want to break down radicals. So that would be 2 times 4. 4 is 2 times 2. So our square root of 8 would reduce to a 2 square root of 2, and then that's over 3. Okay, to decide whether we keep the positive or the negative in that plus or minus, we need to know what quadrant the angle x is in. So we'll jot down our mnemonic. All students take calculus. A means all 6 are positive. S is sine and its reciprocal are positive in quadrant 2. T is tangent and its reciprocal positive in quadrant 3. And then the C is cosine and its reciprocal positive in quadrant 4. We were told that secant, which is the reciprocal of cosine, is negative. So we have to be in either quadrants 2 or 3, but we're also told that the sine is positive, and so that puts our angle in quadrant 2. Okay, since it's a quadrant 2 angle and sine is positive, we keep that positive, okay, and we can put that over here for sine, 2 square root of 2 over 3. And since we're in quadrant 2, we also know now that the tangent answers are going to be negative. So tangent will be a negative answer, cotangent will be a negative answer. Okay, so to figure out what those are, now I could use my product identity to take the secant times the sine to get the tangent. So secant of x times sine of x is equal to tangent of x, and then we'll substitute in -3 for the secant, and then we have 2 square root of 2 over 3 for sine, and that's going to cancel these 3's and leave us with a -2 square root of 2 for tangent. Okay, then to get the let's see, the cotangent, we could do the quotient identity. So cotangent of x is equal to the cosine of x divided by the sine of x. That's our quotient identity going counterclockwise. And that cosine is negative 1/3. When we divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to flip over the sine ratio and have a 3/2 square root of 2. Those 3's will cancel, leave us with a negative 1/2 root 2, and we'll rationalize that denominator by multiplying by root 2 over 2 over root 2 over 2. And that's going to simplify to a square root of 2, a negative square root of 2 in the numerator, and then 2 times 2 is a 4 in the denominator. And so the cosecant then is going to be negative 2, or sorry, not cosecant, cotangent is going to be negative 2 with the square root, and then that's over 4. So negative square root of 2 over 4. So that leaves us with finding the cosecant, which if we do the product property again, the cosecant of x is equal to the secant of x times the cotangent of x. Secant is negative 3, and cotangent is negative square root of 2 over 4, which gives us 3 square root of 2 over 4. So we're going to have a positive 3 square root of 2 over 4 as the cosecant.